Hello. Sorry, I've been yammering away while being muted.
Okay.
That's hilarious. All right. Yeah, we have a few things to talk about. So, Rao, yeah, why don't you take it away?
Okay. So I'm going to start with the tech update. I have a relatively light one today. I'm going to paste the link here. Okay, welcome to Tech Update, Community Update 192. So the mainnet is running 0.12.2 right now. There was a brief outage on the mainnet because IBM rolled out a Docker update, which caused the mainnet nodes to restart. Everything else remains the same on the mainnet. The block merge testnets, all the testnets are also running version 0.12.2, except for the LLBM testnet, the leaderless block merge testnet, which is running the latest version of the code, and that's going to be named 0.13.x. Probably the current version is 0.13.0 RC1. The LLBM testnet was down after we started that. Initially, NetZipper tested that for 2,000 plus blocks in the DevNet. We put that on the testnet, and then there was a bug in the LLBM testnet that we had to bring it down. And now, I think just now, and this text here is not updated yet, but just now it was brought up a minute or two ago. So people should be able to use, the community should be able to use the LLBM testnet and report any problems there. For now, we will continue to run both the LLBM testnet as well as the BM testnet, which is the block merge, leaderful block merge, because the LLBM still will likely be unstable for a few days as we put it through more tests and then discover more bugs and fix them. But both are available now. Please do use the LLBM version. The LLBM version uses the CPU much more aggressively because it is more concurrent. So Gurinder is also trying with a couple of different configurations on the machines to see what will give the optimal experience on that. So all of that work is going on in the background, but it is exposed to the community now. Please use it and give us any feedback you have on that. So that's the main thing in terms of making the LLBM available to the community. NetZipper is continuing and working very hard on both fixing any bugs that we're finding, as well as moving forward on the remaining tasks for the hard fork too. So of course, Tom Slav is still out this week with health reasons. So when he comes back, the full team will be reviewing the remaining hard fork 2 tasks, determine the priority of those, and work distribution of those tasks among the people, and also distribution of those tasks among the releases as to what we want to release in the hard fork 2, what we may be able to push back to hard fork 3. Anything that doesn't require, the hard fork in the next version, basically we already have the state change capability that Isaac had developed. So whatever does not take a hard fork 2, we should be able to update seamlessly with even with the hard fork 2 being available on the mainnet. So that's kind of where we are with overall work effort on that. Will has put in a new PR for a new transaction balances script. This one is more flexible than the previous one and allows this script can run on multiple networks. The previous one was kind of tied to the mainnet and the observers on the mainnet. So you should be able to use it in your code or on the test nets or anywhere. So that should help or ease the user experience with the network as far as transaction balances are concerned, which is a very common thing that most dApps will be doing. So item 3, like I said, I wrote it before that saying that they're currently bringing it up, but it's back up now and available to the community. Dennis is continuing his work on the Radix tree implementation of history. He's resolved the stack safety issue, and now he's corrected all the code issues and is running performance tests. He has run performance tests in memory versus LMDB, and he is fine-tuning the LMDB parameters to improve the performance. He'll also be running it in the full node to see what issues he might find there. There should not be any logical issues, but he wants to see what the performance issues might be with the full node. So that work is continuing, and we hope that once he's done and he has a little bit more work to do, we may be able to release that as part of the hard fork too. Previously, we were thinking we may not be, we may have to push it back to after hard fork too, but I think he's making enough progress that if that continues over the next week or so, we may be able to integrate that and test it in the node and release it as part of hard fork too. That, I think, is my update. Are there any questions, comments from anybody on this?
I do want to make some comments about NotZipper's work. I'm particularly excited because in review this morning, NotZipper was able to show that we will be simplifying the block tag storage while at the same time getting the lazy validator capability. So this was something that we were always worried about with respect to being able to detect lazy validators and make sure that they are appropriately punished. So we're with the finalization fringe, we will be able to do that, and in the process of making sure the code supports that, the block tag is going to be simplified. So this is great. When you start getting multiple wins, that's when you know you've got the math and the software architecture right. In general, you know, there's this process where you're kind of wandering in the woods, which I did for more than a couple of decades to get the math right. And then with respect to the software architecture, we're seeing it all come together now. In general, the biggest challenge for us has been Casper, because Casper was new by comparison to the row calculus. And so we're now seeing that all the pieces for Casper are coming together and giving us these multiple simultaneous wins. So it's very, very exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else for Rao?
All right, over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much. Theo, you gave a very compelling demo to the Arnold family this morning. Are you prepared to give the community a demo?
Yeah, we actually wanted to do the demo next week instead.
Okay.
Possibly even the final demo, because it will include funds distribution as well.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll just report to the community that this morning the PoC team gave a demo to Frank and Michael Arnold of the features of uploading the asset to the chain, minting an NFT, attesting the asset, and then selling it on a marketplace where the buyer is making the purchase from his mobile phone. And all of this was running on a separate shard that is being managed by the PoC team.
And Michael got to participate as well in the demo.
Yes, Michael Arnold was the attester for the asset. So this is, and we'll be showing this next week, I guess, along with some other features. But it was really quite exciting. The Arnold family was very excited. One of the things that I think came out of that was that the very same set of features, if you shift it from an NFT to simply a post on a social network, so the asset is now just the content of the post, then the attester is someone who is giving it a thumbs up or a like or that sort of thing, and the purchaser is someone who's providing it with enough token that it will then be pushed through the rest of the network. This is exactly the design that I had in Splicious and then gave to the Synereo folks when we entered into a partnership. So we're now at the point where we're beginning to demonstrate the very same features and functions that we contemplated with Synereo. So this is a very, very exciting for me because this is only the beginning of the journey. Any questions or comments about this?
I just want to say it's really exciting for me too.
Yeah. Okay, folks. Moving on. If there's no other questions about that work, the board met and reviewed both basically all the items that should go on the AGM ballot. I guess it'll be good for everyone since they don't have to pay too much attention to IOBs. Not a single IOB, not even the IOB that was written and promoted by some members of the board, made it through the board review process. The vast majority of the issues with things really had to do with the fact that the co-op could just implement what was being requested right away without having to vote on it. So, for example, opening the board to co-op channel again is just something that we will do. Providing some kind of office hours is certainly being considered, and we'll think about the right way to do that given the deliberative nature of the board. In general, there's a question about whether the board is a deliberative body in the same way that the Senate is a deliberative body, or the board is a deliberative body the same way that the Supreme Court is a deliberative body. But sifting through that, I think there'll be a good solution, and the board will just implement that rather than having to wait for an AGM ballot. And other things came up where the writer of the IOB was simply unaware of what's already in the bylaws. As a part of the process, it became obvious to us that we need to translate both the articles of incorporation and the bylaws into Chinese, so that our Chinese members can have access to those in a friendlier form. With respect to candidacy, the board is passing along a feedback to the nominating committee that the nominating committee should only consider candidates with a demonstrated proficiency in conversational English. Over the last few years, what we found is that while the translation programs are very helpful and very useful, it doesn't fit the rapid flow of a board meeting. So that what affected certain candidates in terms of their eligibility. So that was basically all we did for 2 hours on on Tuesday during the monthly board meeting. Any questions or comments about that? Okay. Moving on, there were some very good news with respect to engagement with institutional investors that I will have to defer to Friday's call. But so if people are interested in that, please show up at the Friday call. What else have we got today? Rao, Darryl, Steve, what else am I missing?
Maybe an update on the Dubai trip. And
sure. You want? Yeah. Why don't you give an update? And if you have the little video you want to show, you can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So yeah, basically we're going to Dubai this weekend, and that when I say we, that means Greg, Agoric, and myself. I guess some of you may or may not know what it is about. It's called the AIM Summit, Alternative Investment Management Summit. Greg is going to be speaking about well, the topic is programmable money, and it will be very interesting. We also have a booth, and at the booth, the China team has prepared some really good promotional materials that will be available there at the booth. And we also have a mini micro jumbotron video screen that will be set up at the booth. So I've been working on some video material. It has to be silent, so it's kind of mostly text-based. And I thought maybe I could share it with one of the videos that I've been working on with everybody, just to I guess, you know, show you guys and potentially get some feedback if you can. So let's see here. I'll share my screen. Okay, so here it goes. And so to repeat, this is there's no audio, so it's about 5 minutes long, and the idea is, you know, people will be walking by this booth, and so, you know, it's intended to kind of, you know, draw people in so that, you know, we can start to talk about RChain. So
Great job.
Yeah, I thought the timing on the slides was perfect. I mean, compared to the other version, I was able to read them, and it was a nice flow. So that I think you hit it spot on this time.
Oh, great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for that advice. Really helped out.
Very nice.
But Darryl, there is a HJ commented that there's a typo in Golang. I don't know which slide. You might want to look at that. And where you say computation, I think it should be is as opposed to or. You might want to. I can look at that again to see if that makes sense. I think either we should say computations or computation is.
Okay. So 2 typos. Okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out.
So you reminded me, Darryl, that I did want to be my usual troublemaker self and just mention that I was told by the moderator after we sort of had a discussion last week that climate change is a little too far off topic from programmable money. So here and now in public, I'm going to connect the dots just like I'm going to connect them in Dubai. First, going back at least as far as John von Neumann's The Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. Economists and mathematicians have viewed money as a coordination technology. And if you're going to argue with Johnny von Neumann, you lose. So it's widely accepted by folks who think about this stuff for a living that money is a capital is a coordination technology. So when we go to programmable capital, programmable money, what we're really thinking about is upgrading, giving more power to this coordination capability. So if we're going to do that, then it behooves us to apply this additional power to the biggest, most significant, most important coordination challenges facing us to date. Now, don't take my word for it. Let's ask Bill Gates and Neil deGrasse Tyson and a host of other experts, celebrities, and high-profile people what they think the biggest coordination problem facing us is. Climate change. There, dots connected. There's a reason to talk about climate change and programmable money in the same breath. It's also important when you look at that, the matrix that Darryl showed in his slides. It's the matrix that we've been using for quite some time to evaluate different models of computation. If you want to protect your programmable money investment, it's a really good idea to have a high-level view that allows you to evaluate the different proposals for programmable money in one swift go. And so this is another reason to talk about this matrix and how it helps people evaluate different blockchain ideas and proposals. So anyway, there's lots and lots I could talk about with respect to the Dubai speech, but I did want to state here publicly that climate change is spot on. And we're not the only ones who believe that this is a capital issue, so to speak. So does BlackRock and Jeff Bezos and many, many other people, Microsoft, who are all setting up funds or shifting their portfolio to represent this change, this sea change in the market. So hopefully that will make people feel like we are exactly on target. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I would like to make a couple of comments. I think to the extent that the investments are going into climate change mitigation or reducing the factors that are causing the climate change, it's reasonable to assume that there will be blockchain applications there, or in general, any technology applications there. So I think it's certainly worthwhile looking at that. On the matrix, I want to make a couple more points. If you look at CoinMarketCap right now, there's some 12,400 crypto assets listed there. So if this conference is about investors, they first of all need a filter to say, how do I look at these 12,400? Because they have a selection problem even before they get to an optimization and making sure that they're protected. So even for that, I think the matrix is very helpful, because all these 12,400 assets are based on whatever number of layer 1 protocols, let's say a dozen or 20, something in that range. And then a lot of different applications built on top of those. So if they apply the matrix, they would be able to see where really all these investments would appear in terms of their security and ability to grow and scale in future. So that's one point I would make from a selection standpoint. The other thing is in investments and optimizing investments, what they should be, what any intelligent investor looks at is not where prices are now, but where things would be in future, right? So it's about where the hockey puck is going to be as opposed to where it is now. And for that, again, the matrix is very helpful to look at and say, okay, well, as we take this technology and prove it and improve it, how does that change the landscape? What we see on the coin market cap dashboard now, what is that going to appear like in future? I think that's a very important thing. Some way of having a transformative glass that an investor could use for that kind of analysis is useful, and the matrix provides that. Is the other point I wanted to make.
Yeah, really nicely worded, Rao.
And yeah, it's good that we have it recorded so people can see this. I think we should turn this whole thing into a blog article that we push out before the Dubai talk, if at all possible.
Yeah.
I
Very
think it's a
good.
idea to add a slide to your presentation of Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, and so to make the connection with climate change and finance.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Will do. We actually have a slide of Bill Gates saying exactly that in the presentation now, but we'll add some others.
Okay.
I think HJ is referring to the video that maybe that Darryl is putting out. I mean, I think this video does not have a length limit, right? Because it recycles. So we can add more things in this video if need be to make it attractive for people that are walking by.
Good point.
That's a very good point. I was not specially referring to that video, but yeah.
To the presentation, yeah.
To the presentation, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about that?
Well, I've been doing a bit of research on just Dubai and UAE's kind of current stance on climate change. And, basically, they realize that they have about less than 20 years supply of oil left. And they also realize that the market has shifted. So there is tons of PR. UAE is scrambling to imagine their whole kind of stance and position on climate change. So I think they're literally going to be thirsty for projects that talk about climate change mitigation.
Yes, I agree 100%. I mean, and we had conversations with some UAE citizens who were interested in RChain as early as 2018. And my experience was that folks like that want to have their finger on the pulse of the what is going to define the next wave of technology. And the more our results and numbers come in, and the more we see with respect to the landscape in terms of how the hardware is shifting, how the regulatory situation is shifting, it seems we are well positioned. we are very well positioned to be the defining technology in terms of the next wave of compute. With respect to that, I would like to mention that I went down on Thursday to San Francisco and participated in the Foresight Institute's private event with Peter Norvig, who is the director of Google Research, and the Agoric people, who are providing some blockchain capabilities. And one of the things that the Agoric people kept pushing was that their adoption of JavaScript was to get over the adoption problem. So I held my tongue at the meeting as best I could, seeing as it was their place, and I was a guest. But I then quickly wrote an article addressing 4 problems with the argument, the adoption argument with respect to JavaScript. So a draft has been pushed out to Twitter. I sent the draft also to the president of the Foresight Institute, who thought it was quite well written. She found it very forceful and wanted to know if I wanted to share it with the Agoric folks. So the process is going to be that I'm sure that Nora and Darryl will have many things to say about my broken prose. After we clean up the prose, we will push it to a blog article on the RChain blog. I'll quickly, so on the Casper stand-up, I did a detailed discussion of the arguments. So I won't recapitulate that here, but I will quickly recapitulate the points here, so if people want a kind of reference in the video log with respect to RChain. So once upon a time, JavaScript faced an adoption problem. And how did it get over its own adoption problem? Well, because it was the first to supply a programmable UI for the browser, and that was very much in demand. And if developers could do UI for the browser, they were handsomely rewarded. So the supplying a need early and connected to an economically rewarded demand is how you get this. Those are the 2 energy barriers to getting over adoption. If we apply that criteria to Solidity, we see that programming the blockchain state connected with high economic reward for being able to do that was the same reason why Solidity saw such accelerated adoption. So in general, if you have something that's early and provides, and there's economic reward for that capability or for wielding that capability, then you're going to get over the adoption curve. But we're at the very, very beginning of programming the blockchain state, and in particular because the blockchain state is concurrent. If you're going to have a scalable blockchain, as you just saw in the videos, you need a concurrent blockchain. And the fact is that the programming model has been under squeeze from concurrency from above and from below. From below, we all know Moore's law ended around 2005. And all concurrency is happening because, or all scaling is happening because of concurrency. Likewise, from above, users are expecting, applications to support tens to hundreds of millions of active concurrent users on a 24/7 basis. So the programming model that provides support for that is going to allow developers who use it to outcompete developers who are using a programming model that can't. And we all know that it's not just about the throughput, it's also about correctness. If you're moving too fast with incorrect code, you will destroy the network. And so this is the other reason to choose the kinds of concurrency models that RChain has chosen. But it represents a paradigm shift for developers. So the programming model that offers this now will provide significant security and economic advantages to their applications, and so will be well rewarded. So we meet the criteria for getting over the adoption barrier, but it's also very foolish to talk about adoption in this way. Everybody who has worked with the fintech shops know that they pay their developers top dollar to play with the newest and fanciest toys. Mostly it's about it's not about keeping up with the Joneses so much as making sure that their developers are happy and they don't leave to go to another shop. So roughly on a 2-year cycle, the fintech shops are retooling with the brightest and best toys. An example of that, of course, is the functional programming love affair that happened in the mid 2000s. Which not only saw Credit Suisse and Goldman Sachs and all the others providing a functional tooling for their platforms, but saw the entry of a bunch of new players like Jane Street Capital and Lexify and all of those who were functional shops. So this is the reality. This is how it works in fintech, and if the fintech folks pick up your bright, shiny new programming model and they like what they see, they will lead the rest of the market to your tech. And finally, there's a moral argument, which is if you know that you're pushing bad tech on the market, don't you have a responsibility to not do that? Aren't you culpable if you are pushing bad tech, which you know to be bad on the market? So those are the 4 basic arguments. If you want to see a more detailed discussion, look at the Casper stand-up or the blog article that will come out. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I think everything is very, very right. So it's a great explanation of like everything RChain, I would say. Cool.
Thank you very much. I will mention that we had a very good interaction with the Foresight Institute, and we will be going down for their Vision Weekend on the December 4th and 5th to participate in that. So very, very excited about this. And I will also point out that there's just tons and tons of really good content from the Foresight Institute. I was unaware that Eric Drexler was one of the founders of Foresight Institute. I discovered that only since I was there. For those of you who don't know, Eric Drexler is sort of the father of nanotech. So he was the MIT grad who proposed nanotech and popularized nanotech as an approach to a number of interesting technological problems, from healthcare to building materials. I was reading his book, Engines of Creation, the month my first daughter, Lily, was born. So that's how long ago Eric proposed his ideas. And so these are the kinds of people who inhabit the Foresight Institute. So please take a look at their most excellent content. I strongly encourage you. They have become aware of the climate and coordination call, and so we're hoping to get some of the Foresight folks onto the climate and coordination call. So I think this is a really good opportunity both for RChain and for Foresight. Any other questions or comments about that?
I was just going to say here.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the community? Now is your time to bring things up. Okay. Thanks to everyone. Please stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you on the other side.